Good morning. This is Norma Cowie here for my Wednesday Norma Talks. Today is the 23rd of March. How quickly sometimes time seems to go. As always, I often wonder, what am I going to speak about? What's pertinent? What people want to hear? What do they want to know? All these things run around in my mind. And I have a lovely group who help me sometimes sort things out. But today I was sitting there and I thought, I'm going to ask the tarot, what do I need to talk about today? So I pulled three symbols and I looked at them and I thought, what's the common dominant? What's the common element here? And the interesting thing was one of them I would never have placed in this category, of which I'm going to speak about in 2 seconds. And I realized, and so a whole lot of clarity came into my mind, which I'm going to share. First of all, we're going to talk about procrastination. So there's 3 aspects of the self to be aware of, basically, which stops us from being all we can be. So when I first looked at these symbols, and I'm going to show them to you because I have them here in my hand, this is the 7 of Cups. This is about imagination. If you look here, there are 7 different symbols representing different aspects of life, all in the clouds. The man actually has a black tunic on, and he's looking up at the clouds. So just get an image in your mind of that. Well, it's easier for me to talk about it with it not in my hand. Our imagination's a wonderful thing to have. We can take that imagination and use it in meditation, in visualization. And very often people who think they're not at all psychic, often I'll just say to them, or say to me, sorry, I'm just jumping ahead of it. They'll say, I can't visualize. I'll just say, well, just imagine it. And they can, because it's a different way of moving into that magical part of your brain. But when we blow things up out of proportion, when our minds get carried away by all these different things, what happens is it's not real. It's not based in reality. I love the symbology here, like, I'm a great healer, I'm so beautiful. And then there's one with the snake, which is kind of, like what we don't really always know what is there, or it could be healing elements that are misplaced. Castle of dreams, I'm going to have this, I'm going to do this. We've all done that, imagined that or created that. Jewels, riches, victory, and then the little dragon or the little devil of temptation. Whatever it is, what we do with our minds is very, very important. And so when we blow things up out of proportion, very often we do not necessarily act on it, because it is all the elements of where and how and when. And so consequently, what's really, really important is that you recognize when you're not dealing with reality. It's okay to be able to think and feel and know this is how I want it to be. But how do you make it real? How do you pull it into the reality? And with the 7 of Cups, they usually do not do that. They just do not do that. So the key here is to be aware of that, to be aware when you're, and I'm not saying don't imagine. We need to do that, but we need to know when to be in an appropriate place of imagination. We need to recognize that that's not reality. And also we've got to look for steps about bringing it into reality, which brings me to the second symbol that came up. Now, the second symbol, according to me, and again, remember, I look at tarot very differently than most, is the King of Wands, who sits in his throne, looking out past the wand into the future. Now, as far as I'm concerned, again, just take a look at him. He's got this one little thing down here, just showing we're never in 100%, but I'm just going to put that back down. I see that as a procrastination attitude. And why? It's because there's no movement in here. Lots of ideas, and his ideas are good, but he is getting up off that throne in order to put those ideas in action. You see, to create anything, you need action. You have the idea, then there's things you need to do. I call it when you have an idea that you decide you want to go after the idea, yes, but then comes the commitment, and the commitment has action. When you want to go something, whether it's to pick up the phone and speak to somebody, if you decide you're going on a trip, you pick up the phone or go visit someone. But most of us now today pick up the phone and we book our flight, or we book our train fare, or whatever. So it's like, again, what's blocking us is movement ahead, and when I show you the third, you'll see that all three symbols don't move. There's no action in here except in the mind and in the awareness, the first two in particular. And so it is, again, what stops the movement? Basically, what stops the movement is fear, because the imagination will say, well, what if this happens? Or what if that happens? Or maybe it'll be this way, or maybe it'll be that way. And so you basically talk yourself right out of it. And you become kind of stuck, actually. And then of course comes the imagination again, creating reasons why not to do it. And I've done this especially in the early part of my life. I did this a lot. I had opportunities come, and then I realized now I wasn't sure of the answers or how I was going to do it, so I would back off. And even though those opportunities were there looking at me, it was the third symbol that surprised me. The third symbol was the 9 of Pentacles. Somebody that's in a garden has all the abundance, which these pentacles represent. But I always have noticed these two trees sitting and sort of guarding it in. And the garden has wealth, it has everything. And again, I'll put that down. And it reminded me very much of in sort of more olden times, because the clothing is sort of olden, a beautiful robe with Venus symbols on them, basically, is that we can have and create a wonderful world, but that's where we say. And in the olden days, a couple of centuries ago, women who lived in riches were well taken care of, but they had no freedom. They didn't have freedom. And so even though I see that symbol is that you have attained or you're going to attain, everything is great. When I looked at it with these other two, I saw how it was also a procrastination. When you have things really, really good in relation to your life, when you have things working really, really well, do you want to risk that? Some people are risk takers. If they're a risk taker, you wouldn't get three procrastination symbols. Because of the first two, the dear Pentacles, 9 of Pentacles takes it on, that procrastination. Oh, I'm comfortable, I'm happy, I don't want to rock the boat. She has a hawk in her hand. She's and was what the wealthy used to do, is they used to hawk. I think a lot of people still hawk, actually. They have a glove and the hawk goes off and gets whatever it is and comes back and does its flight. But the lady doesn't. The lady is in this beautiful garden with everything she wants except freedom to move. So what stops us, this freedom of movement? And it's to me, it comes down to fear. So whenever you go to procrastinate, the key here is to look at your fear. What am I afraid of? Rejection? Disappointment? Maybe I can't do it? But I always find that if you think you can do it, you can do it. That's what I found. Once I began to get over my fears and inadequacies and my unworthiness, I began to realize if I conceive of it, I can do it. It's whether I choose to do it or not, but I can do it. And very often I'll play. And actually that's just happened recently when I decided I was going to, besides the 2 shows on YouTube I already do, which is now Norma Talks, and then Sunday, a Sunday Thought, which is a much smaller little talk. But I had wanted to do something that was more interactive for people. And so I chose Monday nights when I looked at my schedule and started the mental mind treatments. And so far, the feedback has been good. I would like more people coming in for these, because it's like adjusting the mind. It's a way of getting the mind and opening up different, you might say, avenues of thinking. But I contemplated that for a little time. It wasn't something I just snapped and said, oh, I'm going to do this. I thought about the pros and cons. Well, what if it doesn't go? What if nobody likes it? What if that, general fear thinking. And finally I said, Norma, do you want to do this? Yes, I do. Okay, do it. So I've started and begun Monday night, 7 p.m. I'm on live. And actually, I do a Sunday Thought on live. This is an interesting transition because Norma Talks I've done right from the beginning, which is over 2 years ago now. I recorded it on Zoom, then I uploaded it to my YouTube channel. When I started with another company, actually, doing a Sunday Thought direct, and that was fed directly to both Facebook and to YouTube. But I was having troubles with them. And when I tried to ask them what was going on, they were blaming it was my fault. It was my internet, when I knew that wasn't true. And so I got a little ticked off. So I said, oh, okay, and then I noticed YouTube was really pushing. You could go live right on direct. I thought, oh, I'm going to try that then. So even though I had paid for a year with the other company, I said, I was just upset with how I was treated and how everything went. So I started doing Sunday Thought on direct on YouTube. So I really began to enjoy that. And then I began, when I began the Monday night, and people could write comments, like, write in what you wanted your treatment for. I found it took me a little while to get used to that, reading it and thinking, about it. And some people had a little bit of complications getting their talk, what they wanted, in the keyed in so I could read it. But the feedback for people who have had this done has been great. Just need a little more people. So if you're out there listening to this, think about that, because this is a way I can actually help change the inner workings of the mind, whatever it is you're needing to move beyond to create what you want to create. So, oh, wow, I didn't expect to talk about this today, but it's like learning how to do things. And actually, just to add on to that, one of the things I'm thinking of is doing this show direct live on YouTube, so that I can do my talk. And then if you have any comments you want me to address about the talk, rather than, kind of replying, you're going to be able to make comments. I won't address them until I'm completed what I'm going to say. And as everybody who knows me knows, I have very little notes in front of me here, because today I wanted to really working to put, how did these three symbols come together? It's all about procrastination, putting off. There's sayings like, don't put off don't put off for tomorrow what you could do today. I mean, all these things a lot of us were raised with, little sayings which promoted us to get busy and to get going and to do things. So it's really important, I think, that you begin, all of us, because we've had a tough time in the last couple of years. Many of us not able to do things, we certainly can't go. I mean, I can't go back to New Zealand. I can't, because there's just a whole lot of variables. And so it's like learning where and what and how, but you still live in your body. You still make choices. You still decide what it is you want to do to enhance your life. Even though it may feel like we're governed by the outside forces, the reality is, you get to choose how you respond to those. You get to choose what makes you workable and like. I was just like last night, my TV, everything I was recording wasn't working. It wasn't my TV. It was the company that I work with. And so I said, oh, well, I'll go see what's on Disney. So I hooked up my computer to my big TV. And sat down and decided to watch a show that I hadn't seen before, and then I got hooked. So I spent a number of hours watching each almost hour-long programs going through. And it was a nice relief, actually, because I thoroughly, it was the kind of thing I like, lots of philosophy, some fantasy, and a certain amount of action. But isn't that our lives? Some fantasy, oh, maybe I can do this, or maybe I can do that. And when you hear someone say sometimes what they're thinking of, you go, what? What are they doing that for? In your mind, you may not speak it, because most of us, if we have friends, we always support them in what they want to do. Oh, you can make that work, go ahead. And the action, yeah, we need action. We cannot do anything without action. We can't even make a meal or even go out to a restaurant without getting in the car or walking to get there. And then we have to eat. And that's action. And people forget how often we do the action or we're not doing action. The body likes to be moving. And so it rejoices movement, and it rejoices being all active and working. And so it's just remember, if you feel that you're procrastinating over doing something, take a look at what are those imagination thoughts saying, how come I can't do that? How come I can't go forward with that? And you'll realize it's fear of rejection, fear of not doing it properly, fear of criticism, which is rejection again. And so it's like, but if you're working with a power that loves you and wants to support you, that support will always be there for you. That support will come with people showing up in your life, with a thought coming in out of nowhere that gives you the answer to the question you're trying to work for. It's knowing that you're not dealing this life alone, that you're dealing with your world based on what you think, feel, and experience and respond to, yes, but it's like the force is there to aid you. And very often even when we know it, we'll forget it, because our fear can sometimes be greater than the love. And we really need to choose love, knowing that we're supported, that we're important, and that we can do what we choose to do. So on that note, I'm going to say thank you for listening. Thank you for your subscriptions. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for all the thumbs up or anything else that you need. And remember, if you want to be on my email list, go to my website, normacowie.com. Thank you. Have a great day. Bye now.